Welcome friends, recording for I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, second part. Maya Angelou, a feminist who had an extremely traumatic childhood, she writes this poem, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, where the caged bird is a symbol of all the African Americans and their fight for freedom. It symbolizes the struggle of the black people. It compares the liberty that a free bird experiences with the enslavement experienced by the shackled caged one. The free bird symbolizes the white Americans who freely enjoyed their rights, but the African Americans, they were restricted by different laws. They were restricted by racial discrimination. So this poem is a voice against racial discrimination. I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind. A free bird it dives, it makes a pleasure dive, floating on the downstream current till the current ends. It reaches the ground, and by the time the current ends, it flies towards the western sky and dares to claim the sky, that it is free to go wherever it wants. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. For detailed understanding, please watch the video for first part of I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bar of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. Third stanza, we'll start from here. The caged bird sings with fearful trill. Now trill मतलब आवाज़ में कंपन, कांपता हुआ आवाज़. आवाज़ कब कांपता है? जब कोई बहुत पैशनेटली गाता है, बहुत हाई पिच में गाता है. तो यहाँ पे ट्रिल मतलब quavering voice, Quavering, quavering voice. It is a consistent high note expressing fear, nervousness, anger. So the caged bird sings aloud, fearful trill. Why? The song is very dreadful. It sings of slavery, it sings of death. The death of freedom is the death of a person. So African Americans, they were like living dead. So the caged bird sings out loud. So first, why does it sing loud? Number one, to express fear, nervousness, anger. And why does it sing in a fearful trill? Number two, so that its voice travels far away, and it gains support, it voices for oppression. Therefore, it sings out loud. Of things unknown, what does it sing of? It sings of things unknown things, freedom. Why? Because the bird has not experienced freedom. Therefore, it sings of things unknown. So it does not know what freedom is, but longed for still. Longed means desires. The bird still desires for freedom. So the African Americans, they desired for freedom, which they never experienced. And his tune is heard, his voice is heard on the distant hill. It sings out so loud that the voice travels till a hill which is far away. So the voice reaches far and wide. For the caged bird sings of freedom. The caged bird sings of its desire to gain freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze and the trade, stanza number 4. Stanza number 4 we are beginning. The free bird thinks of another breeze. On the other hand, the free bird enjoys unrestricted movement. Another breeze means another season. When the winter breeze is blowing, it dreams of the spring, and when the spring is there, it dreams of the summer. So we find that different types of breezes blow in different seasons. So the free bird, it is experiencing one particular breeze but it is desiring for another breeze. So you see unrestricted desires of the free bird. It is thinking of another breeze when spring will come. And the trade wind soft through the sign trees. Trade wind is a type of a European wind. So when the trade winds will blow through the sign trees, that is the leaves fluttering and making a sighing noise, and the fat worms waiting on the dawn bright lawn, it thinks of how it would feed on the worms which would be found on the lawn, the meadows, the garden, the grasslands, the meadowy grass, early in the morning at dawn bright lawn, okay, sunlit lawn. So it dreams of, what are the two things that the free bird dreams of, as mentioned in the fourth stanza. Number one, it dreams of another breeze, and which is the trade wind blowing through the sign trees. And number two, it dreams how it could feed on the fat worms on the dawn bright lawn. Dawn is early morning, dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. That is, it claims that the entire sky belongs to it. But a caged, stanza number 5, but a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. Grave of dreams is the bar, the cage. The cage is the grave of its dreams, because all the dreams of freedom has been buried in the cage. So caged bird stands in its cage, which is the grave of its dreams. All the dreams of freedom has been buried in the cage. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His shadow. So the bird sings out loud, sings from its soul. So his shadow is the soul of the bird which sings out loud. And shadow also refers to the shadowy existence of the bird. Shadowy means unreal existence, insignificant existence. Why? Because it has a physical existence, but it does not have any right to enjoy. Therefore, its existence is completely insignificant. Its existence is like that, as unreal as that of a shadow. His shadow shouts out on a nightmare scream. It screams as loudly, as terribly as someone screaming when he watches a nightmare, a dreadful nightmare. So screams terribly as if like a dreadful nightmare. So the existence of the bird in the cage is like a nightmare. So it screams out loud. His wings are clipped, his feet are tied. We have read this in the earlier stanza, that is stanza number 2. Okay, so this is repetition, and jab bhi puchega ki why repetition, so you can mention to emphasize the distressing condition of the caged bird. But caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. So this is the repetition of the third stanza. The third stanza has been repeated in the sixth stanza. And again, repetition emphasizes the distressing condition of the bird. So if we summarize stanza number 1, I am reading this out from Xavier Pinto. I will post the PDF so you can go through it, the PDF. The poem in detail, stanza 1. The poem begins by referring to the flight of a free bird who springs free from the ground to fly in the direction of the air current. But I think here it would be it dives. It looks as if the bird had immersed his wings in the orange rays of the sun covering the sky. The free bird flies as if the sky belonged to him. Stanza number 2. The next stanza expounds, elaborates the conditions of the caged bird who is constantly watching down his cage. He can almost never see through the bars. His vision is limited. He is enslaved. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied. Under such circumstances, the only option he has is to open his throat to sing. Stanza number 3. The caged bird quavers. Quavers sings with a trill or a quavering voice, kaapta hua awaaz, trembling voice. While singing of things unknown, he realizes his condition but still longs for freedom. The poet reveals that the bird's cry for freedom is heard at a faraway place. Stanza number 4 goes back to the unrestricted movement of the free bird. The free bird thinks of another breeze. The poet also mentions the fat worms that are waiting on a lawn at sunrise to be consumed by him. It appears as if the bird had named the sky his own, since there are no other birds to contest with him. Stanza number 5. The fifth stanza depicts the bird in its cage, the cage that has now become the grave of the bird's dreams. The poet describes the bird's cries as that of someone having a nightmare. Once again, the caged bird sings of freedom. Stanza number 6 is a repetition of the third stanza, which emphasizes the distressing condition of the caged bird. Now, what do you notice having read from Xavier Pinto? Xavier Pinto was the head of department of English for ICSE for a long time, and his wife also held a significant position in the ICSE board. Now, this summary has been, this explanation that I have read just now has been written by Xavier Pinto. So, what do you notice? He doesn't go in too much in depth to elaborate things. Most of the words have been taken from the text, and he hasn't gone into too deep an explanation. So, that is what you need to learn. You need to drive away the doubt or the uncertainty, the confusion that is there in your mind that you have to explain too much in detail. Remember, learn the poem for ICSE. Learn the poem for ICSE. And theme number 2 and number 3, if there is some background of the poem, please go through the background. This is how you need to prepare. So drive away all the doubts that you have, the fear that you have to write too much in detail. I just showed you the Xavier Pinto workbook, and we read the workbook, and you see that even a reputed person like Xavier Pinto has not gone too deep into explaining things. So please learn these tricks and do not think too much about explaining too much in detail. Always write the text first, whatever is there in the book, and don't elaborate much. Just a single line explanation will do. And if you want to elaborate it further, please give a single line explanation, and after that you can go to elaborate as much as you can. But your first line should speak, because the teacher should understand what you want to say in the first line itself, and then he or she would not care to go too deep into reading your answers, because even teachers are human beings, and paper checking is one of the most frustrating tasks that the teachers go through. So if you provide comfort to the teachers, they will definitely provide you marks.